As much as I love video games, anime, and TV shows, there's something special about the storytelling of movies. The restriction that they have to deliver their entire story in 1 to 3 hours leads to some uniquely powerful experiences. With other media, it's expected that you might take breaks and experience their story over multiple days or weeks. But with movies, you can enjoy everything they have to offer in one sitting, and I find that contained nature very appealing. That being said, there are games that imitate this. Though movies have influenced gaming in areas such as cinematography and character work, see any recent PlayStation Studios game, we are also seeing shorter, narrative experiences, especially in the indie space. That's what I want to showcase today. I'll be discussing and reviewing 5 games that are story-focused and take less than 3 hours to beat, so you can finish them in one shot. Does making a story interactive lead to more narrative impact, or should these games have been movies instead? Let's find out. Let's begin with one of the most critically acclaimed games of last year, Venba. In this game, you play as the titular Venba, following her immigration from India to Canada with her husband. The game chronicles her life over many years and her struggles with cultural assimilation, parenthood, and homesickness. The hook of the game is that Venba works through her problems by cooking, and that is the core of the gameplay. You interpret the damaged recipes Venba received from her mother, and cook different meals for her and her family at different points in the story. I really love this game. Starting with its presentation, the art is gorgeous, the food looked amazing, and the sound design was extremely realistic. It really felt like I was there in the kitchen every time I cooked a new dish. The cooking itself was also really enjoyable. It involved some light puzzle solving, trying to interpret the cookbook so you add ingredients in the right order and with the correct technique. And everything is based on actual recipes, which definitely made me want to run to the nearest Indian restaurant or try cooking some of these recipes myself. I also found the story very effective. At its core, it's an immigrant tale, which I have seen many times. But framing it through cooking was a really clever storytelling device, and I think this game has some great commentary on representation that I hadn't seen before. The game also took the opportunity to show instead of tell whenever it could. I found it much more effective to just see pieces of certain events that happen instead of characters spelling everything out. I'm going to agree with the critics and say this game is outstanding and definitely worth 90 minutes of your time. Just don't play it on an empty stomach. Venba is available on all platforms, including Xbox Game Pass. The next game I want to talk about is one I've been meaning to play for a very long time, and that is A Short Hike. I wasn't sure what to expect from this game. I just heard it was short, chill, and very good. And as it turns out, all of those things were exactly right. In A Short Hike, you play as a young bird named Claire that's at a park in Canada for the summer with her aunt. You're waiting for an important phone call, but the only place with service is the top of a nearby mountain. So, you set out on a hike. This game is incredibly charming. It definitely gives off Animal Crossing vibes from the character designs and sound effects, and the pixel art is really cute. All of the characters you encounter in your journey are uniquely interesting, and the writing is really funny and wholesome. Even though you're playing as an anthropomorphic bird, everything in this game feels very honest and grounded. A character might be acting ridiculous and making me laugh, but there is always a truth underneath their actions. And all of this is supported with a very well realized environment to explore, and a chill soundtrack to keep you company. The gameplay of exploring the park felt surprisingly good. You can run, jump, climb, and glide. And as you progress, you unlock more stamina, which allows you to get higher up and closer to the peak. It was really fun to move around and try to figure out how to get collectibles that were just out of reach. If I could compare this game to Celeste for a moment, I would say that the gameplay of climbing up the mountain doesn't mirror the story quite like Celeste does. In Celeste, the mountain is a character itself, and your progress climbing it directly correlates with Madeline overcoming her anxiety. A Short Hike, on the other hand, is more focused on the conversations Claire has with the other characters as she climbs, not the climbing itself. Through her exchanges with the other parkgoers, it's clear that Claire struggles with anxiety. But there isn't any expository dialogue revealing her past, or a big climax where all her problems are solved. This is just a person struggling with something right now, and talking with the people around her helps her feel better. And I love that approach. It just feels more authentic to real life. This feels like a great game to play if you're struggling with depression, anxiety, or are stuck inside on a rainy day. It gave me the feel-good emotions of exploring nature, along with a feel-good story. At 90 minutes, it would be hard to find someone I wouldn't recommend this game to. A Short Hike is available on all platforms, including Xbox Game Pass. Wholesome stories are great and all, but sometimes I'm in the mood for something on the weirder side. Something A24 would produce. And that led me to our next game, Slay the Princess.
You're on a path in the woods, and at the end of that path is a cabin. And in the basement of that cabin is a princess. You're here to slay her. If you don't, it will be the end of the world.
Slay the Princess is a psychological thriller visual novel in the style of a choose-your-own-adventure book. You play as the hero, and the narrator tasks you with slaying a princess that's locked in a cabin. As you play through this game, you'll have many options for dialogue and actions, which will change how the story progresses. It's really difficult to talk about this game without spoilers, so I'll keep my thoughts brief. I think this is a cool game. It has great presentation, the pencil sketch art style is really cool, and the voice acting is solid throughout. The structure is very similar to the Stanley Parable, in that you are trying every option you can think of to see what happens, and then the story builds from there. I think that structure works well for this game, though I worry the order in which you experience certain events can negatively impact the pacing. I personally feel like the opening of this game didn't fully work for me, and the ending got pretty heady and lost me a bit. But for the majority of my experience, I found the story interesting and it kept me engaged. There are definitely a lot of interesting ideas on display here. I'm going to leave it there, since I really think the best way to experience this game is to know as little as possible. I don't think I like this game as much as many of the reviewers I've read, but I would still recommend this if you like games like The Stanley Parable, Doki Doki Literature Club, psychological thrillers in general, or if you think you can fix her. Slay the Princess took me 2.5 hours to complete, and it's available on PC. Of all the games I'm talking about in this video, this next one is the most similar to a movie. Open Roads is a walking simulator / adventure game where you follow a mother and daughter going on a road trip to unearth a family secret. It stars Caitlin Dever and Carrie Russell, two of my favorite actresses, and is a very clear-cut narrative experience. It comes from the same team that made Gone Home, so if you played that, this is a very similar type of game. I had a great time with Open Roads. The story is crafted well, both Russell as the mother Opal and Dever as the daughter Tess have compelling arcs and character moments. They don't do anything super unique while exploring themes of family dynamics, coming of age, and grief, but everything works. The game was paced well, and I found the ending very satisfying, which I was happy about, because a bad ending can ruin this type of game for me. I also need to mention, the voice acting is spectacular. Carrie Russell is really good, but honestly, Caitlin Dever stole the show for me.
Yeah, at that pottery demonstration they did, they'd call little kids up from the audience and show them how to do it. I was so excited. I was jumping up and down, waving my hand, because I knew that Grandma likes pots.
I really hope she gets a nomination for Best Performance of the Game Awards this year. She is so good, and really elevated Tess as a character. I also really enjoyed how this game was constructed. You play as Tess, and there are two types of gameplay you can experience: dialogue and exploration. The dialogue is pretty straightforward. You'll have some choices to make, but not a ton. And then the exploration involves you moving through an area and picking up interesting objects. You sometimes talk to your mom about them, which helps you learn something new about a character, or it moves the story forward. What I really liked was that the objective in each area was always clear, and followed an A to B to C structure. I never got lost or stuck, and since I knew what the end goal was, I was able to explore everything before leaving an area. Visually, the game is fine. Having the characters be hand-drawn is neat, but there are only so many poses they can go through while their lines are being delivered. And the environments themselves look lower quality than I would expect from a 2024 release, but I know the dev team went through a lot of strife when making this game, so I don't fault them. It's all good enough to deliver the narrative. While I wouldn't call this game a must-play, if you are a fan of games like Gone Home or Firewatch and are itching for a similar experience, or just have a crush on Caitlin Dever like I do, give Open Roads a try. It's just under 3 hours and is available on all platforms, including Xbox Game Pass. The last game I want to talk about today breaks my rules a little bit. It's slightly over 3 hours, and I'm not sure I can call it a narrative game. But the way it delivers its story is so unique and creative, I wanted to make sure I included it. The final game I played for this video was Unpacking. Unpacking got a lot of buzz back when it released in 2021, and I've been wanting to play it since. It's billed as a chill puzzle game where you unpack boxes after a move and put every item where it needs to go. However, that isn't the full picture. As you play this game, you'll realize there's a subtle narrative taking place, and the gameplay complements it perfectly. The first level is a child's bedroom. As you unpack, you will find things like stuffed animals, school supplies, and toys. After you place everything, the game takes a picture and shows a note. Finally, my own room, revealing that this is a child moving into their own room for the first time. As you continue to play the game, you discover that you are playing through the life of the main character, learning about them through the places they move into. It's such a simple idea, but it's so effective. As someone who has moved 7 times in the last 10 years, this game really hit me. When you move, you have to decide what you're going to bring with you, what you're going to throw away, and what you're going to ditch in your parents' basement. You see the differences between the person you were when you moved in and the person you are moving out through the things that you have collected. You can see when you picked up a new hobby and when you put it to the side. You forget about things you used to own because you had to get rid of them when there wasn't enough space. I never saw the main character of this game or heard them speak, but I know so much about them and the life they have lived simply through knowing what they decided to pack in these cardboard boxes. Unpacking is one of the coolest ways I've ever consumed a story. Now, with all that gushing being said, this entire game is unpacking boxes, which may or may not appeal to you. I personally love finding the correct spot for a Game Boy or a cutting board, so I found the gameplay very fun. It's greatly amplified by the sound design. The team did such a good job with all the little noises of picking things up and the different sounds they would make if you placed them on different surfaces. And emptying a box feels so good. The only thing I can knock this game for with respect to this video is that I wouldn't recommend playing this game all in one sitting. It would be a lot of unpacking back to back to back. All the other games I discussed can be consumed like a movie, but I think this one is more of a mini-series. Every time you tune in, you can see the next phase of this character's life. I absolutely adored Unpacking. Definitely pick this up if organizing a new house or apartment sounds fun, or you're nosy and like going through other people's stuff. Unpacking is available on all platforms, including Xbox Game Pass, PS Plus Extra, and mobile. There we go. 5 short, narrative-focused games for you to play the next time you have the urge to finish a story in one sitting. I think all of these games do a great job of conveying their story while meshing it together with interesting gameplay. Whether it be cooking meals for your family, choosing to take the knife down to the basement, or setting up your new apartment. These games asserted that they only could have been games. A film wouldn't have had the same impact. I hope something I showed today caught your eye and encouraged you to pick up a new title. Supporting indies is so important so that we continue to get inventive experiences like these. Thank you so much for watching my video. If I missed your favorite short narrative game, leave in the comments below. I'd love to hear how it impacted you. Also, if you're interested in some more game recommendations and maybe some music and anime too, subscribe to my channel. My goal here is to sort through all the media that's out there today, curate it, and bring the gems back to you. Giving others recommendations brings me a lot of joy, so I hope to do it here for a long time. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.